I'm Tom, I'm invested in the Cosmere, and we're back making Cosmere RPG maps. Today's map I'm pretty excited about. A couple of people had reached out, some through the comments, others in comments on YouTube, and some via email, about a map in the Reshi Isles. And originally I was skeptical. What we know about the Reshi Isles is that they're massive great shells with islands on the back. And we've seen a couple of different sort of visual interpretations of what the actual great shells themselves would look like. And you know, I always sort of envisioned a turtle, and it just kind of makes sense, like swimming through the sea, kind of turtle-like legs. I've seen other people that make them look more like chasm fiends. And I just wasn't sure if what we have in Inkarnate could even come close to like anything like those concepts without serious work in detail in texturing and layering and groundwork to give sort of a shell effect. And then I just kind of hopped on and I started messing around with a map. And I just did something that completely changed my whole perspective on this project, which was coming into my stamps, typing in turtle, grabbing the giant turtle, and then being able to just fill an entire map with an entire turtle. And just right away, I thought to myself, like, oh, okay, no, this is absolutely possible. This is a thing now. And we're just going to get right into it. There's a couple of different sort of angles that this map was requested on, and I kind of decided that in order for this to kind of work in the way in which I am hoping it will, what I'm going to just have to do is make this kind of generic, kind of open. I am going to kind of put a little village on this guy's back, just to kind of make it something that you could slot into your campaign at any given time. But there's going to be a lot of really small details we put into this to make it sort of look like an island. And the first thing I'm doing, you can't quite see it here, but maybe if is there a way I can hide this? Well, I'll move it. I'm putting ground texture underneath, so that what we can do with our layering after the fact is once we put in some ocean texture, which we're not going to go as hard on the ocean texturing as we did last time, because the ocean is not the main draw here. The water is there just as happenstance. The real focus is going to be on the body and making it look, mostly animal, but also part island. So we are going to do a little bit of kind of manipulation of texturing for the water to give the impression that the feet are underneath. But like this is only just the basics for right now, just to kind of get that texture and sort of set that tone underneath. What I want to do, this isn't going to quite work the way that I wanted it to. What I want to do, and I'll have to think about how to do this. What I want to do is make it so that there are, like, the feet are underwater, but I'm not 100% sure how I would pull that off without making the whole thing partially opaque. Because, like, you'll see here, if I make this opaque, or start to mess with the opacity, you can kind of like, it gives it that impression of it being underwater. And maybe, oh, that's weird. Why is it doing that? Technical difficulties. Hold, please. I hope that doesn't permanently stay on and it is just a visual artifact. And that maybe I have to start this whole video over. Hey, it's just the internet being the internet. Maybe what I might be able to do here. No, that looks terrible. My enthusiasm is unmoving for right now, because maybe what we do, masking tools, that's what we need. That would be the play here, is to mask. Is there a way I can mask? Do like a little bit of masking just around the feet. Let's turn our opacity all the way back up. I don't know how I would pull this off. We're probably going to come back to that. I mean, that just kind of looks cool. I'm just throwing stuff at the wall at this point. All right, not unrecoverable. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to send this guy all the way to the bottom. And we are undeterred going to start just throwing some stuff on top of our boy here to give him that good jungle aesthetic. That's going to start with some really interesting tree textures. I think this could look pretty cool. Let's start it on our scale. Now, I've talked previously about the sort of concepts of scale when it applies to a battle map, and regional maps are a little bit different. And because this is a great shell of considerable size, and it's not necessarily something that you would throw like a player character token on and call it a battle map. This is a whole island, and so my scale for these, you might even say this is a whole square mile, and that the turtle, the isle is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-ish by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 99 square miles, almost 100 square miles. Like that's maybe too big, but you can kind of get a sense for where we're going with this when we set the scale of this tree. And there's some better tools. Really what we ought to be doing with this is using using like a placement, random placement here. This is sort of just like a place and hold, and it's selecting variations of the different trees here. And this is going to allow us to kind of build out a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of layering all at once. What I was really hoping to be able to do, and man, what I'm contemplating is bringing this texture into like Photoshop to start to manipulate it. I'm gonna try something. So what I wanted to be able to do was to build in that opacity to make it look like the feet were in the water, but also on the shell to give it a sense of being able to show the textures of the dirt underneath. Like right now it's that grass, right? And if we got this texture down enough, you could really see what that would look like. But I want it vivid in other places to ensure that you can still see what you can see. What to do? This is a classic case of like a vision gone awry. Man, I came into this with such enthusiasm. I thought I really had something going on here. I'm going to keep messing around with it and just see where it goes. I'll tell you, I built an entire map of a Kolinar wall. That was another one that was requested by several people. And I got to the end of it, and I absolutely hated it. Not the suggestions. The suggestions were great. I was really enthusiastic about it, but what I had built didn't really meet what I envisioned and what I wanted. And it kind of looked boring, for lack of a better phrase. And so I ended up just scrapping the whole project. And that's what I do every once in a while. I know kind of what I did wrong that time and where I might want to come back to it with a bit of a different approach. And so that's just where that's where my head's going to be at for a little bit. I think I might want to try a completely different tile set for laying out this island. There's sort of two different viewpoints that you get with Inkarnate. One is, that top-down sort of battle map style, but then they kind of have these neat sort of isometric views, and the isometric view gives you more of that like larger map style that I think is going to be more beneficial than what we've built thus far. So we're going to keep the turtle, our turtle friend here, just where he is. And maybe I'm being way too picky about like the layering. I think that was just a good idea that I got tripped up when it didn't quite work exactly the way that I wanted, and I just kind of need to get over it and kind of go back to some of the more fundamentals of map making here. And so I can kind of just build out some of these trees here. I wanted to do a village. Have a village be visible from far away. And we're going to do that. We're going to make something like that. It's actually already kind of mini inspiring me to do, just seeing what the tiles are here and kind of thinking through what might be fun and interesting to do in another place. I can see some ideas on what could be cool in other maps. Perhaps a certain city from a certain campaign that has no lore reference other than one single line in passing, and yet we are supposed to go walk right by it without so much as a map. Well, that's a fixable problem. It's always a fixable problem. I'm trying to recall. I'm going to go back to our Coppermind page. Spoiler warnings for, I think, Way of Kings, where we go to Reluna, one of the Reshi Isles. There is quite a bit of information about the ecology of these islands and what they look like. And what I'm trying to remember is if there were any details about what are the buildings like on top of these. I would have to assume that you're not looking at a lot of like permanent structures on the backs of these things. I mean, we're kind of getting that scene and impression here. But this is a moving creature. It's undulating. It's shifting. Plus, the Reshi people are not quite transient, but like they're sort of roving. And so I kind of get the sense that you aren't going to see a lot of permanently built structures. You're going to have maybe some more temporary sort of designs. And so what palette is going to give that to us? Really, like what they call sort of the orc texture is what is striking closest to mind, but like the weird bone layout, like I don't know, it just doesn't, it thematically it doesn't strike particularly good with me. And some of these other things are a little too like, I don't know, they just, again, it's thematically they just don't seem to hit super well. Not with what I'm going for, or what I have envisioned, I should say, in my head. This is just a part of the process of building a map like this, is finding what the right combination of things are to give you the effect that you want. These marketplace ones look pretty cool. Maybe it is a combination of this. Maybe I just don't think about it too much. Thinking about it, man, where does that ever get me? Anywhere? Nowhere? I just unselected the thing that I was on. Is that a Viking settlement? No. That does feel thematically more appropriate, though. I feel like that's what you would see. Pirate? Borderline? No. Ships, though. I think we'll add some ships to the bottom to give you a sense of... Here we are. It's not like... It doesn't feel 100% correct. Like, I'm going to try not to think about it too much because it's not quite there for me, but I think for right now we're getting somewhere, and we're just going to keep painting this until we get to the end. And I am completely not opposed to getting nearly finished with a map and then just stopping and turning it over in my mind a little bit more before I actually go about it. I might take like 2 or 3 attempts at a map before I actually... Inkarnate's being very strange tonight. Before I actually end up making a finalized sort of decision. And I am liking this overall layout. I am trying to think about ways in which I'm going to be able to pull off making it more interesting than a bunch of trees on the back of a turtle. Because as much as that will be, I think that'll do it for most people. You'll kind of get out of it the Isles effect that you didn't otherwise have or get from other maps. I just can't help but to think that we could do just a little bit better. And I think these mountains here are going to be our saving grace. Perhaps. Just a little. Because in all of the artwork, at least all the artwork that I have seen, it is not they are not consistent. They're not like just plain creatures. There are these more dynamic landscapes about them. And so what this is doing well for me is it's adding in some texture and color to the landscape outside of the shell. Like, I wish I could be painting more grass and dirt and everything like that, because I do think, as I recall, there is like a lot of that type of texture. Yeah, we are gonna be doing this all over the place in this area to give it the detail we need. Sometimes you just got to do it this way. Man, this is probably going to make it a nightmare to output, because I think adding this many stamps, because like each one of these little blades of grass are individual, I think it's going to do some stuff to our it's going to do some stuff to our file size and maybe everything like that in Inkarnate, not in like the output. But this has kind of given me what I had hoped for. So you can still kind of get some of that shell, but it's more lively than that. Okay. I'm going to turn off the grid for now and just kind of look at what we're looking at base here. We're going to run it back with some new trees. Just fill in some of our blanks. This is feeling better. I'm feeling better about this than when I started. I kind of want to. There's a couple more details off the creature here that I want to build in, but we'll get there. We're just gonna take it one step at a time. I almost feel like you're losing a little bit of detail of the little village on there, but for right now, that's okay. What I want to do is just add in some ships. Now, I recall they were using more like canoes as opposed to full-masted ships. And I'd like, if at all possible, to maintain that air. But there are also some smaller single-masted ships that look like they could fit as well. What do we got? It's not bad. Would they have docks so near the front, the mouth? Or would it be more on the back? How many times have I talked about creating like layers and it not screwing you later? And right now it might be screwing with me a little bit. Just a little bit, not a ton. Scale this guy way down. Just want to give a very small detail here. Okay. Nope. Keeping that in view. So we got maybe one ship coming in. And another ship at harbor. Yeah. You know, it's pretty good. It's not too bad. I'm a little bored by the water now because I didn't really get the layering effect that I wanted. I think we're in the right realm when it comes to the style of water. Because I think it is that kind of lighter. It's that lighter, sort of like pure, clear, oceany sea. It's not quite tropical. That's the word I'm looking for. It's not like a frothy ocean, you know. It's warm, clear waters. Yeah. All right. This is feeling pretty good. There's some variations to this that I want to do, and there's some like really cool storytelling I think you could pull off on an island like this. You know, what would like an abandoned Reshi Isle look like? You know, one that doesn't have a village, or one that has a village that, you know, has become under attack or sort of lost a war or something like that. There's some really cool stuff that you could do with it. But for now, this is a very basic one. We've got a Reshi Isle with a small village on it, a place where your party could come and visit and maybe travel to quite a bit. There's some like interesting jungle and mountains you could explore. And that's it. It started very ambitious. It kind of tapered off when it didn't quite meet my expectations, but we kept going at it, and here we are. We've got it. We've got our Reshi Isle. I don't have a name for it. Maybe you can leave something in the comments to pick a name for our little friend here. But yeah, subscribe to Invested in the Cosmere. This map will be available on investedinthecosmere.com, along with all the other maps I've made in this series, all for free. And so you should check those out and grab a few, grab as many as you need. Check out the other stuff that I've got going on for the Cosmere RPG. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.